7 billion to, like he mentioned, Climate United Fund, 5 billion to Coalition for Green Capital, 1.87 billion to Inclusive.
I'm Stephanie Keith.
And I am Tara Manjakovic, and we are unapologetically outspoken.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. We can start out with the best news ever, which is that Tulsi and RFK Jr. have been confirmed. I'm so excited.
I'm telling you, when Tulsi, I think, was right after our episode finished on Wednesday, like right after we recorded, she got confirmed. And then it's just so funny because we were talking about when are these confirmations going to happen? And then bam, there they are. And I was so excited about RFK Jr. yesterday that I was like jumping up and down and sending text messages to my mom and to Aaron and to you. And I was just like, RFKJ got confirmed.
I know, I'm like shocked, honestly. I really thought that they would try to not allow one or the other to go through. And fucking Mitch McConnell, the only Republican that didn't vote for RFK, can we just vote him out already? Like anyone in his state, please. We don't need this guy.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that they both got like 52 to 48 with the voting because I assumed at least one of them was going to need a tiebreaker from JD Vance, but
Yeah.
they didn't. So at least it looks like the Republicans got their shit together to do these confirmations. And I was so excited when I saw that Trump has already instructed RFK Jr. to start looking at the role of psych meds in chronic disease and the mental health epidemics in children. And you know he's going to go full force on this stuff. And I'm just so here for it. And then the other thing Trump did yesterday, right after RFKJ's confirmation, was he announced the creation of a MAHA commission. And so RFKJ will chair it. And it's going to include the education secretary, the agricultural secretary, the FDA commissioner, and like 10 other cabinet members and senior officials, which is awesome because all of these departments need input because this is like a collective thing when it comes to health and wellness. And Trump said it's going to address, quote, fresh thinking on nutrition, physical activity, over reliance on medication and treatments, the effects of new technological habits, environmental impacts, and food and drug quality and safety. So, again, I'm super excited, and I know you are too.
Yeah, he'll be able to get a lot done, and I'm so glad to see that they're bringing in all these different departments because it's all just like rotten. They need to just go through everything. And, and it's all intertwined too. It's like the food is affecting our brains, our development, which is affecting education. Like the whole thing needs to be overhauled. And he's the guy to do it. Like I'm still so shocked, but I'm so excited because I think we're going to see some major upgrades in this country just with him alone. Now we just need Cash Patel, which I actually, from
I
everything
know.
I'm hearing, it sounds like he's gonna get confirmed. Like, I
I
think,
was I was I was surprised it didn't happen last night because I kept checking my phone and checking my phone.
yeah.
And then same thing this morning when I got up since because of the time difference, first thing I did was check and see if he got confirmed because I know his hearing started yesterday.
hmm
So
Well,
I
it's
guess
interesting because so many people on our social media are talking about we need to see arrests. And I agree. Like, I think we do, but he's not even in yet. Like, let's get Cash Patel in, let him kind of weed out all the people, in the FBI. And we need to do that in a lot of departments before they can start going after, all these people. So, anyhow, like, fingers crossed he'll get, confirmed today.
yes.
But the other thing that I am loving, and it just makes my day, is the White House press secretary meetings because she just does not take shit from the mainstream media, and I'm loving it. So I want to play a clip of her talking with Caitlin Collins from CNN, where Caitlin's asking why the Associated Press was kicked out of the Oval Office.
Bill made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night? Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today. But I think retaliatory nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about? I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. The Secretary of Interior has made that the official designation in the geographical identification name server, and Apple has recognized that. Google has recognized that. Pretty much every other outlet in this room has recognized that body of water as the Gulf of America, and it's very important to this administration that we get that right, not just for people here at home, but also for the rest of the world. Yes, official.
I love that. Like,
Yeah.
hold them accountable.
Yeah, and you know what? I keep seeing all these articles in the MSM that are totally ripping into her and saying, she's losing her cool as a press secretary and she's getting flustered. I totally disagree. I think she's doing an outstanding job. She's answering fucking questions and not just giving, word salad answers. I mean, she is on point, very blunt, very direct, and I think
Yeah.
she's doing fantastic.
It's like KJP always said, let me be clear, and was never clear. She is fucking clear, crystal clear.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. It's like start calling these people out. I always wondered why Trump didn't do that in his first term. Like, why are you still letting these people in? And so now, yeah, it's like if you're going to go against fact, like the fact is, whether you like it or not, it's the Gulf of America. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter. It's on the map now. Like that's what it is.
Right.
And like they're still refusing to call it that. I don't know if you were going to mention this later, but I just thought about this because they were talking about the Oval Office. Did you see the whole meeting with Elon Musk and his son, his little 3-year-old?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And like the media is just going wild. Like, this is so unprofessional. He had his son picking his nose in the Oval Office. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, who? The guy is finding billions of dollars worth of fraud and corruption, and he's working 24/7. If he wants to bring his kid and Trump's okay with that, I think it's great.
Yep.
I was laughing. I thought it was so fun.
I think it's actually bringing a great element to the White House, just like with JD Vance's kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm
think,
watching.
so many people that I saw on TikTok were just like absolutely loving it. And then the mainstream media is just like, this is horrendous. And it's like, well, you people are evil and you like to sniff children's hair. So that's why you don't like it.
Yeah, this is bringing a very relatable and human element to the White House, which
Yeah.
again, people with families that have kids that are running around picking their nose and climbing on stuff and doing things like this is what children do. And you're seeing that it's not just normal families that deal with this stuff, but it happens everywhere and it's happening at the White House.
And something that amazes me, it always amazed me with Trump, but now with Elon, is like these people are billionaires. You would think they would have like nannies 24/7, but the fact that his kid wants to climb on him and like doesn't want to leave his side, and that is why he brings him everywhere, tells me he's a good dad and he loves his kid. And how many politicians and rich people can you say that about? Like, I like being able to see that he's a normal guy and maybe he's not so evil if like his kid wants to be by him all the time. Like maybe he's just a normal human being like the rest of us, and he just happens to have a lot of money?
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of money and Doge, we have to talk about their new website. Have you looked at it yet?
No, I need to get on there. I saw people talking about it, but I haven't dug in yet.
Oh, it is awesome. Okay. It's very simple, doge.gov. And you know how we were talking about how this whole process has been so transparent, which has just been incredible. Well, Elon is posting all of the Doge X clips on the website. So if you're not into social media or you just find it overwhelming to scroll through hundreds of posts to find something, now you can go directly to the website. You click on a post, it'll redirect you to that post on X, or you can just read them on the website itself. I spent like 15 minutes going through it last night, checked it again this morning. It's not completely finished. By today, there's supposed to be a section where they have like a running description of all the cost reductions with receipts and a savings scorecard. But Elon is posting the receipts for all of this stuff. And there's a really cool section called Workforce that breaks down all the government agencies. And I love the tagline at the top of the page. It says, Meet the government, trace your tax dollars through the bureaucracy. And you can literally see employee headcounts, salaries, how long employees have worked there, how old they are. And the best thing about this website is it's so fucking simple. You don't have to read through a bunch of nonsense. You don't have to dig to find anything. Nothing's hidden. It's super basic. It's all there in black and white. Like literally, the website is black and white. It is no frills, no distracting graphics, plain and simple information. And it's like they're totally taking this whole efficiency part of Doge very seriously. And I think it's fantastic. And Elon's made it clear that he wants input from people to make the website as good as it can be. And he posted on the Doge X page and said, quote, we will constantly be working to maximize the site's utility and transparency. Please let us know what else you want to see. And I
It's
just think
like
that's
he
awesome.
read our mind or something, you know? We're like, we should be able to track every single tax dollar, and that's literally what he built. And just think, like, under normal circumstances, like under the Biden administration, it would have taken them like 8 years to
Right.
implement something like this. And here he's doing it immediately and total transparency. And that's the thing, like the media and these, Democrat politicians are trying to say he's being sneaky and not transparent. He's literally showing everyone online everything. How much more transparent can you get? I mean,
Right.
it's wild, but I'm so glad he's doing it. And he did say something about the salaries and how there are people that are getting paid way more than they should, and they're going to start outing those people. So I feel like it's just going to fix the problem. I think a lot of those people are going to see the writing on the wall and get the hell out of DC before it's revealed.
Well, speaking of which, I was going to bring this up later, but I think it's up to 75,000 people that have taken Trump up on his offer to
Yeah.
buy out of the government.
Yeah, and that federal judge that tried to like pause it or whatever, I guess it's moving forward now,
Yeah.
um, which is amazing. And guess what I learned yesterday? The number one most searched topic in the Washington, D.C. area is criminal defense attorney. Literally, like it's like I forget what they said, 5 times the average of like anywhere else in the country. I'm like, yeah, they know,
Wow.
and they're getting prepared to, face some criminal charges.
Good.
Um, but okay, so listen to what Elon posted. I think this was yesterday. He posts, Reuters was paid millions of dollars by the US government for, quote, large scale social deception, end quote. And then he goes on to say in the post, that is literally what it says on the purchase order. They're a total scam. I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh my God,
God.
Tara, like how stupid do these people have to be? You're going to go and commit fraud. And instead of coming up with some normal label, they wrote large scale social deception. How, it's you can't fix stupid. I mean, this is just it's so ridiculous. And I love that he's calling it out. Um, but okay, so speaking of the corrupt media, I don't know if you've seen this. I've just seen clips, but they're all parroting the same line because they're fed a script where they're calling what's happening here a constitutional crisis Doge has put our government in this constitutional crisis to try to scare everyone. And once again, Caroline Levitt isn't taking their shit. So I'm just going to play another clip of her response to this alleged constitutional crisis.
Before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen emerging over the past few days. Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. Now, before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen.
It's repeating itself. So, yeah, it's not a constitutional crisis. What the federal judges are doing might be.
Do you know what else surprised me? Was Fetterman agreed and said it wasn't a constitutional crisis. That shocked me.
Yeah. I think he's more Republican than Democrat at this point.
He still needs to start wearing appropriate clothes to Congress. Um, but we got to talk about some more spending updates because damn, Doge is on a roll. Okay. They canceled another 58 contracts on Wednesday, totaling 150 million. Most of these were related to media, DEI, and consulting at agencies like the DHS and the DOT. Then later in the day, another 9 million was cut from the Department of Education budget for contracts unrelated to student education. Now, listen to what some of this was. 4.6 million to coordinate Zoom and in-person meetings. 3 million to write a report that showed prior reports were not being utilized by schools, and 1.4 million to physically observe mailing and clerical operations. Okay, Stephanie, we keep saying this, but we're fucking doing it wrong because I'm pretty sure I could schedule some Zoom meetings for less than 4.6 million. And in fact, I do it now for free with my students on a weekly basis.
Yeah, it's self-explanatory. You put the date and the time and you send the link. I mean, my God.
That's insane. And then early this morning, Elon posted about terminating another 33 million in DOE grants that went to four different quote equity assistance centers, one of which provided quote professional learning around critical race theory and racial literacy. And I want to play this short clip of what one of these little seminars was. Maybe I'll play a clip.
Like
Come
my
on.
phone.
I don't understand. Motherfucker. Okay, I won't play a clip.
I hate that. That's same thing my phone's doing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's a brand new phone.
It worked. Well, I don't even have a brand new phone. And I was able to play it on my computer, but not on my phone. Oh, well, it was a good clip, but you know what? Just go to the Doge website and you can check it out.
Yeah. Okay, well, I saw that they're starting to do congressional hearings on all of this fraud that's being uncovered. And I found the most disturbing expenditure so far that was brought forth by Representative Bobart. And I'm just going to warn everyone, it is incredibly disturbing. It involves aborted fetal parts. So if you don't want to hear this, which I don't blame you, go ahead and skip the next like 30 seconds or so. I'm just going to play what she said in the hearing because it's almost so disturbing that it's unbelievable.
Aborted baby parts into lab animals. Have you heard of that sort of research?
Yeah, we did an analysis a few years ago showing that over 90% of experiments with using human fetal tissue and putting them involved animals were funded by Fauci's NIAID.
Do you know where they're getting the aborted human fetal tissue?
A lot of it is happening at colleges and universities that have affiliated hospitals that perform that procedure.
So they're taking that and implanting it in animals, all as part of some fucked up experiment that Fauci set up. So That's what our hard-earned tax dollars are going to. And if anyone had any question on whether Fauci was evil or not, hopefully that clears it up because that sounds like something out of some sick and twisted horror movie, you know?
Yeah, it does. And I honestly think that there's so much more that's going to come out about Fauci. And speaking of him, this is interesting because the director of the National Institute of Health, Lawrence Tabak, he was the acting director during COVID. He worked closely, oh my gosh, now I can't speak, closely with Fauci. He's been there for 20 some odd years. Well, he just up and resigned yesterday. Gave no reason why. He just resigned. What do you want to bet, Stephanie? He is equally complicit in this false COVID narrative, destroying millions of lives, and God knows what else Fauci has been doing.
I think we're going to see a lot more resignations starting to happen, especially when they start to go after people criminally, because I think they will. I think they're just waiting, and right now they're gathering all their evidence. But yeah, like how much more guilty can you be than just resigning? Like
Right.
obviously, you've done something wrong. So, yeah.
Yeah. And since you brought up USAID, the left is still trying to keep Trump and Doge from getting rid of fraudulent spending. And remember when Trump took office, one of the first things he announced was a 90-day freeze on foreign aid so Doge can start investigating all this spending. Well, yesterday, yet another federal judge stepped in to cockblock the Trump administration, and he ordered that all foreign aid be restored, citing that there is no explanation for a blanket suspension of congressionally appropriated foreign aid and said it's causing, quote, enormous harm. So, this, of course, is a Biden appointed judge. His name is Amir Ali. And he has barred the State Department, including Rubio, barred the Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought from basically implementing any contract cancellations or stop work orders that were put into effect by Trump.
You know, someone brought up how what these federal judges are doing is seditious conspiracy or whatever that code is that's illegal because it is the executive branch that is supposed to enforce the laws. And that is what Trump's doing. He is enforcing the law and they're trying to stop him at every turn. Like he's not doing anything new. He's doing what should have been done all along, but wasn't.
Yeah, but remember we talked about this a few months ago before Trump took office when a bunch of like Republicans in Congress weren't there and they voted to give all of these far left judges lifetime appointments. I can't remember how many there were, but they were all of these federal judges that the Biden admin gave these lifetime appointments to. And I guarantee you some of these people are the people that are doing all this shit right now because they
Oh,
knew this was coming.
exactly. Exactly. But they can't stop the executive branch from functioning. Like that is
Right.
against the Constitution. So, like, it's just crazy. And then they try to say it's a constitutional crisis, what Trump's doing, when really it's what these judges are doing that's the real crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that happened on Wednesday, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced that he found 20 billion in taxpayer money. This is fucking crazy. That the Biden admin had basically like hid away as a slush fund and they put it in a private financial institution outside of the government, right? It was later revealed that this was the money was at Citibank and it's just sat there collecting interest for since 2022, and this was all part of the Inflation Reduction Act, that completely failed fucking program. But they didn't announce the funds until August of 2024, and then they were like just distributed like crazy with no oversight. And I want to play this clip from Lee Zeldin talking about how he discovered this money. Oh my God. Okay, this one will play.
One of my very top priorities at EPA is to be an excellent steward of your hard earned tax dollars. There will be zero tolerance of any waste and abuse. An extremely disturbing video circulated 2 months ago featuring a Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of your tax dollars out the door before Inauguration Day. The gold bars were tax dollars. And tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it. Following this revelation, during my meetings with members of Congress, I made a very important commitment to them and to the American people, which I reiterated at my confirmation hearing that if confirmed, I would immediately get a full accounting. Fortunately, my awesome team at EPA has found the gold bars. Shockingly, roughly 20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution by the Biden EPA. This scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history, and it was purposefully designed to obligate all of the money in a rush job with reduced oversight. Even further, this pot of $20 billion was awarded to just 8 entities that were then responsible for doling out your money to NGOs and others at their discretion with far less transparency. Just under $7 billion was sent to one entity called the Climate United Fund. I'm sure you and I now have some of the same questions. How do these organizations decide how to allocate funding? How much money have they given out so far and to whom? Are there any former Biden EPA staffers who are now working at these entities? Let me make one thing abundantly clear. At this point, there is zero reason to suspect any wrongdoing by the bank. Here's my position as EPA administrator. The financial agent agreement with the bank needs to be instantly terminated, and the bank must immediately return all of the gold bars that the Biden administration tossed off the Titanic. EPA needs to reassume responsibility for all of these funds. We will review every penny that has gone out the door. I will be referring this matter to the Inspector General's office and will work with the Justice Department as well. The days of irresponsibly shoveling boatloads of cash to far-left activist groups in the name of environmental justice and climate equity are over. The American public deserves a more transparent and accountable government than what transpired these past 4 years. We take our obligations up.
Okay, so listen to this, all right? Listen to where the money went. And just notice the theme in the names of all of these organizations because I don't even know how to tell them apart. So, like he mentioned, it was 8 different entities. 2.29 billion went to Opportunity Finance Network, which is a company that brings economic, financial, and social justice to communities. 400 million went to the Native CFDI network, which featured Elizabeth Warren as a speaker, so enough said there. 2 billion to Power Forward Communities, a company that has no listed employees on its website, but apparently has openings for a government affairs VP, a communications VP, and a special assistance person. So Shell Corporation, maybe. 7 billion to, like he mentioned, Climate United Fund. 5 billion to Coalition for Green Capital, 1.87 billion to Inclusive, 940 million to Justice Climate Fund, 500 million to the Appalachian Community Capital. And then later in the day, Zeldin announced he was canceling a $50 million grant to the Climate Justice Alliance, which was for climate justice travels through a free Palestine.
Are you shitting me? Like, I
No.
think there's more things going on in Palestine than climate justice issues. I'm really starting to think this whole climate change thing is a total made up narrative just to funnel money to. Like, oh,
Yeah.
where are we going to put the money? Well, let's just tell them that it's going to climate change because then we can make a
20
bunch of, yeah,
20 billion of American taxpayer dollars have been sitting in a fucking bank for the last few years as like a Biden slush fund.
at the same time that we're all supposed to be doing our taxes and sending money to the IRS, and this is what they're doing with it. I mean, I feel like they need to cancel taxes this year because it's just ridiculous. I mean, how much more can you be pissed off paying your tax bill this year?
We should totally start that movement.
Yeah, oh, it's happening. People are calling for it left and right. Oh my God. I feel like if you
I'm on
didn't
board.
pay it this year, they're probably gonna just be like, yeah, we get it. Like, we're not coming after you. We got bigger fish to fry. Okay, so switching gears because there's stuff happening in the AI world. So Europe, Asia, and the Middle East all met in France on Tuesday to discuss AI. And the EU and President Macron are pushing for this open, inclusive, and ethical approach to AI. And they feel that the United States is hoarding AI technology and that we should share some of the wealth. So, anyhow, 60 countries signed an agreement, including France, India, Canada, China, which surprises me, where they're all calling for inclusive and sustainable AI that would protect human rights, gender equality, linguistic diversity, and protection of consumers. The US and the UK did not sign this, but JD Vance did go to this summit, and this is what he said to all of them.
Must remain free from ideological bias, and that American AI will not be co opted into a tool for authoritarian censorship. America wants to partner with all of you. We want to embark on the AI revolution before us with the spirit of openness and collaboration. But to create that kind of trust, we need international regulatory regimes that fosters the creation of AI technology rather than strangles it. I must remain free.
So he's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And I agree. Like, I think, we talk about the dangers of AI, but do we want these super woke countries, putting the rules in place? No. And we are in this, battle with China of who's going to, advance first. And all this is going to do is get in the way of that. And I don't trust any of those nations. So, I agree. I agree with JD Vance, and I'm glad he's standing up to them.
I'm actually surprised that the UK didn't sign.
I am too. I thought they would be on board with it, but I also think the UK is like so behind on AI. And I think they're making a decision. Do we go against the US or do we stand with the US? Because clearly, the
Yeah,
US is their best bet. So, but yeah,
true.
I mean, usually all about like gender equality and stuff. I don't know why that would even be a part of the AI talks, but it was. They
Why would
managed to
it be a
throw it in
part of
there.
the climate talks? I mean,
Exactly. It's just nonsense, more, and then of course they'd want more ridiculous spending for
Mhm.
all that nonsense. So yeah, not going to happen in this administration. And then on the Ukraine front, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he said that Ukraine joining NATO is not a realistic outcome. And I'm so glad someone in charge is vocalizing that because it's ridiculous. And so, he put that out there. Meanwhile, Trump had a quote unquote productive call with Putin where the two agreed to visit each other's countries. And then Trump told reporters that he would welcome Putin back to the table to make it the G8 again instead of the G7, like it was before Obama kicked Putin out. And he asked, like, how can all these countries cry about Russia, but then not give them a seat at the table to discuss things? It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. So it sounds to me like things were very friendly between him and Putin, and hopefully a peace deal will follow as a result of that.
Well, it sounds like Zelensky's not playing ball. And I guess last night there were reports of Russian drone strikes on a nuclear reactor at Chernobyl. And JD Vance was supposed to meet with Zelensky today at the Munich Security Conference, but apparently that meeting's canceled. And Zelensky is like reportedly insisting that Ukraine become part of NATO. And he's, not going to play ball unless they do. So I'm curious to see how these peace talks go. Um, but on a totally other issue, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced on Wednesday that the DOJ is suing the state of New York, Governor Hochul, and AG Letitia James. And this is all over the state's sanctuary status. And she was savage. So I have to play this clip.
Because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. Um, This is the new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel mom, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. As you know, we sued Illinois, and New York didn't listen. So now you're next. Millions of illegal aliens with violent records have flooded into our communities, bringing violence and deadly drugs with them. And if you don't comply with federal law, we will hold you accountable. We did it to Illinois. Strike one. Strike two is New York. And if you are a state not complying with federal law, you're next. Get ready.
Don't you love that?
I freaking love her. She's not afraid to go after them. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it was that press conference or if she was talking to a reporter, like a one-off, but she was saying how, remember when they first got in and someone from the FBI leaked that like the border security was going to go in to all these cities and do like raids?
Yeah.
She said, she's like, whoever that was, we're going to find out and we're coming for you and we're going to arrest you. And I was like, damn. And she was serious. So I'm really hopeful that they are actually going to hold people accountable once and for all, because I think we lost hope there for a while that there would ever be justice and accountability.
Yeah, and I was going to mention this later, but I'll mention it now because you just said that. Um, Here's something else like I don't fucking understand. AOC just did a video webinar on her social media on Wednesday where she was basically giving illegal migrants step-by-step instructions on how to avoid detection and avoid arrest by immigration. And it's like, how the fuck is she allowed to remain in Congress? Because she's a government employee who's literally telling people how to break the law and deceive the government. Like, how does she still have a job?
How to break federal law
Right.
too that has
Yeah.
been crystal clear. And that's what I'm wondering. Like, yes, she got away with that shit before. Will she get away with it now?
Mm,
Because Pam Bondi's not messing around. And,
right.
why would she treat her any different than she's treating these sanctuary cities? Because they're trying to hide, illegals. So, yeah, I hope that they do something about it.
I hope so too, because that is blatant,
Hmm.
blatant, like, fuck you to the government that you work for. Like,
Yeah.
no company would let their employee go out and trash the company and do something completely counter to the company's, rules. But
Yeah,
yet
you're
our
going under
government,
direct orders from the
yes,
President of the United States, and you're a
right.
congresswoman. I
Yeah.
mean, seems pretty crystal clear to me what should happen.
Yeah, she needs to be gone. But going back to sanctuary city shit. So, you know how the DHHS lost track of the 32,000 migrant children?
Mhm.
Well, apparently it's probably because they were too busy handing out money to nonprofits. And this just came out yesterday. $22.6 billion dollars in grants over the last 4 years. So this was revealed in a report from Open the Books. And I fucking love this organization. Like, aside from Doge, they seem to be the ones that just are so transparent with government spending. And the DHHS Office of Refugee Resettlement gave out more than 10 billion to grant receiving organizations just in fiscal year 2023 alone. And I was reading this article in the New York Post that reported that NGOs received, listen to where this money went, Stephanie, it's fucking insane. 1.7 billion in services, including quote dollar for dollar matching savings plans for cars, homes, college educations or startups, small business loans of up to $15,000, loans to repair credit history of up to $1,500, cultural orientation, emergency housing support, legal assistance, and Medicaid care. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
When was the last time American taxpayers got any of those things?
Exactly. And it's like, you know how we always talk about government officials having vested interests in these sham NGOs? Well, guess what? Two of the top groups that received funding during the last 4 fiscal years under the Biden admin were Church World Services, which received 355 million in grants from the Biden admin since 2020, and International Rescue Committee, which received 598 million from the Biden admin since 2020. And both of these organizations were former employers of Robin Dunmarcos, the woman who was in charge of the ORR and responsible for distributing this $22.6 billion. So she spent 23 years as the senior director at the International Rescue Committee. And she worked for the Church World Service for 4 years. And if you think this wasn't blatant spending by the Biden admin, like to destroy our economy, this report also revealed that the funding to the International Rescue Committee jumped from 22 million in 2021 to over 235 million in 2023. Like again, this is completely insane. And early this morning, Elon posted another 167 DHHS contract cancellations to the tune of another $115 million, including a $2.23 million contract for equity assessments of existing program policies. Like, you cannot make this shit up.
I mean, the dollar amounts are so huge. If you worked for any other company and you took the company's money and went and spent like this, you would be in federal prison for the rest of your life. I mean, the
Yes.
fraud is on a whole other level. But what worries me, or I should say disgusts me, is these NGOs, like best case scenario, this was fraud and the money was going to like corrupt politicians. But how many of these NGOs were just like the NGOs that Guatemala was calling out that are the fucking human traffickers and that
Right.
are doing the child selling and trading? I mean, that's more likely. So like our tax dollars could have been funding that. And it's disgusting, it's outrageous, and I can't wait to see these people go to prison.
I guarantee you our tax dollars were funding that because a large chunk of that money was going for the what was that called? The migrant child loan program where they were just
Mhm.
all the what do you call them? Unparented. Um, what's
Oh,
the name for it?
unaccompanied minors.
Unaccompanied. Yes, the unaccompanied minor programs. A huge chunk of that money was for that, which basically was for human trafficking.
And that would make sense as to why these HHS whistleblowers are saying that they weren't allowed to get the police involved. They weren't allowed to
Right.
follow up when they dropped these kids off at places that they knew were traffickers. Like it's so blatantly evil and corrupt. And it's just on a level that I don't think we've ever seen in this country. Maybe it's
No.
gone on for longer, but it's sure coming to the surface now. And, again, it's like the overall consensus online is comment after comment of people saying, we need to see arrests. Like this cannot be like every other time where they do a bunch of hearings and nothing comes of it. People need to go to prison for this. And I have a feeling, and maybe I'm naive, but I do think the Trump administration is going to do that. I think they are in planning phase. They're gathering all their evidence. They're waiting for people like Cash Patel to get in place, and then they're going to make their move. And you got to think, this is a big win with Tulsi and RFK. He still has like thousands of appointments to make. Like there's
Yeah.
a ton of people that still have to be confirmed. Then they have to get in there and they have to clean house. So I think they're just being methodical and like very smart in when they do things. And this is the planning phase. And hopefully, down the road, there's going to be phase two where they actually take action and arrest these people.
I certainly hope so. And like yesterday, Trump signed off on a Doge audit of the IRS. So I can't fucking wait to see what they find there because you know that the IRS is totally fucking corrupt.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And again, I'm waiting, like, when are we going to get a refund for all this money that was stolen and used for nonsense?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, to completely end on a different topic, I just have to ask, did you see the US military jet that crashed into the San Diego Bay?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
what the hell? I mean, I watched the video and it reminded me of the plane that crashed in where was it? Philadelphia. It was like a nosedive right into the water. They said the pilots ejected safely, but they made a split-second decision to do that. And they were saying, had they waited any longer, the jet could have hit a densely populated neighborhood that was just past that. So that's terrifying. Um, but then on top of that, the USS Harry Truman aircraft carrier crashed into a merchant ship in the Mediterranean Sea. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
My husband and I were talking about that yesterday because it's like you can't not see a fucking aircraft carrier. Like you can't not see it, and you can't not see a ship that's half its size as well.
Right. And there just seems to be a pattern. And yeah, maybe it's all coincidence, but I just can't help but think like, is someone messing with something? Is like the system being hacked? They didn't say why the plane crashed. All they said was the pilots knew it was going down and they decided to eject. Why was it going
Yeah.
down? What happened? Why are all these like there's incidents left and right. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I haven't seen an answer yet for the crash other than talks about how it was $80 million worth of military equipment that got it's gone now.
My God. Well, at least no one was injured, so that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that's the latest on our transportation and all these crazy accidents that are happening. Never a dull moment. Truly
Right.
not. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping when we come back on Monday, we'll be able to say Cash Patel has been confirmed. So I'll
Yes.
be watching it closely. We'll report back. But I hope everyone has a great weekend. Happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you here on Monday.